welcome to episode 12 of Ctrl Alt Speak. And today we've got yourself, Anton Gunter from Global Freight, the man behind Rant On from Anton.
No, it's Rant On with Anton. And that's cake. Remember we spoke earlier about if you make a mistake, you give cake. That's it, Beth. I'll be expecting some donuts in my office.
Absolutely. So I was just thinking earlier before I jumped on the call. I mean, God, we've known each other for a few years now. You were probably back when you were at Telford, AFC Telford. How on earth how did you go from football to freight forwarding?
So I actually got into football because for my love of sport, and I there's not a day that goes by that we don't watch cycling, darts, snooker, although those two aren't really sports.
Still cycling?
Yeah, still cycling a lot. And so I was working for an international removal company, and unfortunately, I was even, that's years ago. I was made redundant, and so I was working in Stourbridge, living in Shropshire, and I was made redundant, and so I ended up having to look for jobs, and I started selling wine, which is another one of my great passions, And then this job at AFC Telford came up. It was their first ever official commercial manager or commercial sales manager. And wow, I didn't even realize AFC Telford existed. And I'm brutally honest with you. I went for the interview, a great stadium, massive stadium. Oh, they get 3,000 people. It was the job to die for, absolutely to die for. And when I say to die for, in all honesty, it was a job that I've always wanted to work in football in the UK. It's almost like living in South Africa. It's not a dream, but it's like, wow, you watch football in the UK because that's where the home of football is. So I got this job and it was great. The people were great. The fans were great. Players, I got to go on the team bus and go to games and just spent living the dream almost. Yeah, that dream. Then ambition took over. And I was offered a job at a Shrewsbury Town Football Club, and not a lot of fans even knew I was there for a year. It was terrible. That was just, it was the worst decision I ever made. It's like, not because the people that I worked with were anything, they were great. And it was just, I wasn't ready for that step. But, when you're ambitious and you want to suddenly go from non-league to league football, expectations are different, both for myself. And so that didn't quite work out. And then I went back to doing what I knew, international relocations. And then 7 years ago, I started working. I got a job here at Global Freight with my wife. She was then the MD.
Yeah.
And no, I didn't sleep my way to the top. I can honestly say that. I really didn't. It's hard work. And if anyone's ever worked with their spouse, their girlfriend, their boyfriend, whatever, it's
been and done it.
It's a crazy place where some days you have absolute highs and some days you have lows. I think in the first week I resigned about 4 times. I got sacked 3 or 4 times, and it was it wasn't. And then I think after 24 years or 22 years actually of running Global Freight, Nicole decided that she'd had enough of freight and she went and retrained as a financial advisor.
Yeah, I remember when I first spoke to her after that, I was like, bloody, that's a complete career change. That was...
Look, anyone who knows Nicole knows that she likes counting money and she likes counting her own money. So, if she likes counting her own money and is good at it, then, she'll count anyone's money. But freight, I've always been in freight. I've been in freight since I've been in the UK, which is 23 years now. And so freight has always been a passion of mine. And I know it sounds strange when people say, I'm passionate about my job. But it's not necessarily the job. It's the moving of stuff. It's the helping of people. It's the new countries, new cultures, new agents, it's great. And I think one of the things I've really taken away from lockdown was the fact that I was able to actually speak to lots of people and not be pressured of always being busy. We during lockdown we were still 2 of us were still in the office here, global social distancing, because we were seen as essential workers.
Yeah.
But I was able to speak to Vietnam in the morning. I was able to speak to Australia in the morning, and then speak to the US in the afternoon, China in the evening, and it's just been great and building those relationships. So yeah, so that's how I went from football to freight.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said there for the whole people connection as well.
Massively. I mean, you've known me long enough. I just like talking to people, and I can talk about anything. I just talk. Yeah. It just comes up my mouth at times. Sometimes it comes out wrong, as Rant On with Anton is born. But yeah, other times
some of those rants are really good.
I think it comes from a genuine place, and I think it's not personal. I've never ever personally attacked someone. Although if the person that I was talking about would read the rant on, they'd know it was them that I was ranting about. But I just, I as I say to a lot of people, I wouldn't say something anywhere if I wouldn't say it to your face on the phone, in a meeting, whatever the case may be. If I don't agree with something, I tend to try and put that point across, and I try to, if something is riling, and there's a lot of stuff that riles me at times, people not wearing face masks. What possibly could there be for people not wearing face masks? Why would you walk into a garage like this morning and not wear a face mask when everyone else is wearing a face mask? Why not just wear a face mask? It's 5 seconds of your life. Yeah. See, it's starting already. and so Rant On with Anton is, my person, I'm South African. We're upfront, and if we don't like something, if we like something, we say it. It just is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? And then if you ever get stuck, default setting is wine and barbecue.
Wine and braai.
Yeah, wine and braai.
Yeah. Wine's an emotive subject. I'm a level 1 sommelier, myself and Nicole actually.
Okay.
So which means I'm meant to know my wine. It's a whole lot of ponciness for about nothing. You watch these cookery shows and you go, this wine will go lovely with this. Rubbish. Wine is what you like. If you want a pint of wine, you can have a pint of wine. If you want to drink out of a plastic cup, champagne out of a plastic cup, who cares? I don't.
As long as you enjoy it. And are you loyal to the homeland? Do you prefer South African wine over any other region?
I used to be staunchly religious. That's it. Only South African wine. Even Method Cup Classique, which is a South African champagne, and Method Cup Classique is the French wording for the champagne that is made in South Africa. But because it's made in exactly the same process as champagne, i.e., it's the wine is put into bottles, it's fermented, it's then riddled, turned, they then freeze the neck of the champagne, they pull out the cork, they add extra wine, it's made exactly the same way as champagne, but they can't use the word champagne for obvious reasons. So, but then our drinking buddies, our personal drinking buddies, is Norman and Mary, who are 85 and 83 years old respectively.
Okay.
And there's a lot of weekends that days go by that you don't remember where you've been because you've been drinking wine with Mary and Norman.
And I bet even though he's probably twice your age, he still drinks you under the table.
No. Okay, let's be serious about it. We could tell you lots of stories, but no, that doesn't quite happen. But I said recently, probably the last year or so, I've sort of concentrated on what I like rather than what people say. And I think, a lot of people say, I don't like wine. Well, it's because you haven't drunk the right wine, not because you don't like, because wine's so general, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was a conversation on Friday night in our house, was a lot of people don't appreciate with the price of a bottle of wine and the percentage of that's made up with tax and duty and all the rest of it. And if you're buying a £5 bottle of wine, the actual value of the wine in the bottle, I think it was 96p.
Yes.
Versus a £8, £9, £10 bottle of wine, which in the grand scheme of things isn't much of a difference, but actually the amount of money that goes into the product.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to knock cheap wine, £5 bottle of wine, because we've got a couple of bottles that we buy at Aldi that aren't very expensive. I think the rule we use is if you won't. Well, a lot of people go, this is my cooking wine and this is my drinking wine. You think, oh, hang on a minute, never cook with wine that you won't drink. So in other words, if you got rubbish wine that you leave out on the side, oh no, I'm going to cook it all. Then why?
What's it going to taste your food?
The same acidic taste that you're going to get from a glass, you're going to get from from your food. So why not just Floyd? I don't know if do you remember Floyd? Are you young enough to remember Floyd?
Maybe.
Okay, so Floyd, I love Floyd because Floyd would always uncork a bottle, fill his glass first and foremost, drink it, then add, and that's what we do at home. We drink first, then add.
But that's what the whole cooking together in the kitchen thing's about, though. It's not just about the cooking; it's about that family community thing in the kitchen.
For me, food is just we love entertaining, but we like good company, good food, good wine, and that's why as a South African, braaiing, as I keep talking about, barbecuing for people, except it's not on gas, it's on, because who cooks on gas anyway? Why?
Yeah.
Rant on 2. Who goes to a barbecue and then goes, oh, I was going to switch on the cooker. Why, are we eating inside? No, we're eating out. No, because the whole thing is, it's still old school. Let's talk about a lockdown. I lost the stone in lockdown.
Yeah?
Yeah. I found it again, though. I will just say that. I did find it again. Because there was nothing else to do. And so all I did was cycle. The one week I did something like 350 miles. And it's just like, there was no cars on the road. I was leaving work at 2:00 in the afternoon because we were done. Cycling 3-4 hours a day. It's just like, wow, I could have gone anywhere. I could have gone to, who allowed.
There was that guy who did a 100-mile ride from his house in a big circle, and then he got arrested for being too far from home. Oops.
Yeah, there was
truth in that, but
I don't know, but there was a lot of things going on, like you can't get arrested retrospectively, but some days I found myself 40-50 miles away from home, on a ride, thinking, how am I going to finish this 100-mile ride? Now the motivation is just gone. There's no motivation whatsoever, because all the events that I was training for, triathlon, swimming, etc., is just now cancelled, and it's just like, this is. But the one good thing about lockdown was the fact that I have the ability to Zwift. I don't know if you've heard of Zwift.
Yes, I have. I have looked at it.
Actually, so you mentioned in your little piece that Beth sent me about technology and stuff like that. And one of the things that I absolutely would 100% recommend is Zwift. Zwift is a cycling app, and basically you put your bike onto a smart trainer. Smart trainer is a little bit expensive, but you can find anything. I think you can find anything from about £250 upwards. But there are cheaper ways of buying little bits of tech that allows you to do Zwift. And basically, it's a computer-generated screen. You're an avatar, you're a cyclist, and the faster you cycle, the faster your man goes on the screen. But it feels like you're on a road. It feels like there's stages. The professionals, i.e. the guys who just recently finished the Tour de France, they did a virtual Tour de France on it. So it's not like this is just like a kid's game or FIFA, whatever the case may be. This is like, if I can go for a ride tonight in France, as he grabs his phone to look at what is available tonight, and I can go cycling in France on a 25-mile cycle, which has an incline of, let's say, 12%. And so, and that's where the smart trainer is good, because the more the incline, the harder your back wheel needs to work. So the more harder you have to pedal. So it's like you go through the gears, etc., etc. It's in the corner of my garage. Last year I did.
Next to the wine.
No, my friend. The wine is kept in a wine fridge. Why would you keep wine in a garage?
Well, you don't fridge all your wine, surely. Surely not.
Which wine wouldn't you fridge? Let's go back to wine. Which wine wouldn't you fridge? Wine's optimum temperature. Red wine is 13 degrees.
Okay. So, now I'll give you that one, because I've had some red wine that is very nice chilled.
I was just going to say, if you eat curry, right, try a Pinot Noir with your curry. Likewise, try champagne with fish and chips. Good, and that's a good one.
Okay.
That's good. That's very good. But no, wine, we've got, because I'm turning 50 in the future, I'm collecting wine for that big day. And It's just going to be me and my bottles of wine. And so, they're all being refrigerated. I bought a wine fridge thing. But the rest of the stuff that gets just kept in the kitchen.
So I want to come back to events, because obviously you're talking about all these events that you haven't been able to do. But I want to talk specifically about more businessy events, more local businessy events. So I'm thinking about our mutual friend Ellie Wilkinson and some of the great work that she's been doing, because you've supported the Dyslexia Awards for a number of years now.
From the start, and I'll be honest, I don't remember how many years did he. 2014 maybe.
I have no idea.
But no, yeah, from the start. I mean, Ellie is just a bundle of fun. I mean, I met her like yourself, met her through a networking event, and I've never suffered with dyslexia, but I've realized subsequently that a lot of my friends that I was at school with suffer with dyslexia, and because in South Africa, in the early 1800s when I was growing up, there wasn't that awareness. And there's not the way, and in a lot of places when people don't have something, they assume that that's the norm. But in actual fact, it's like a lot of people have dyslexia, and it's not to the point where it's for some it's a massive thing, because actually it's quite small in proportion. When I speak to Ellie, we always have. Whenever Ellie sends me an email, and she won't mind me saying this, we always have a laugh, because there's invariably there's spelling mistakes in Ellie's work or in email that actually changes the sentence. Yeah. And so, and the thing I like about Ellie's is that she's taught me so much about dyslexia. So I look at people that I work with, I look at people who work for me, I look at people that I know, and if something sort of starts cropping up, I sort of start asking those questions. That actually, and I think that's the one thing that we've been really good or glad about, is the fact that the Dyslexia Awards have allowed us to get that knowledge, but to mix with some great people. I mean, last year's winner of the Entrepreneur of the Year, a guy called Tullis. He works for AI Stallion.
Okay.
Now, for anyone who doesn't know what AI Stallion do, is they do horse porn. And when I say horse porn, they're a sperm bank for some quality horses.
So do you remember if probably 2 or 3 years ago when they were literally just winning every single award left and right?
Yeah, they won our International Trade Award.
And I was talking. I'm not going to name the judge in question, but I was talking to one of the judges who was judging that award, and the way he described that whole process. So they went for the walk around, asked the questions, get the guided tour and such. And
it sounds very much like Nicole, because Nicole judged them.
Okay.
When she came back, she just goes, "Oh my God, I just spent the day talking horse porn." I'm like, whoa, where have you been? Why have you been? What?
But it wasn't.
He's just started a great charity. It's funny how we're just diverging for everywhere, but and so basically, they're going to be working with the rarest or the most close to extinct animals to build up. So in the world, somewhere, I think it's in Belgium or the Netherlands or Europe somewhere, there is a database of every single known plant in the world, a seed of that plant. And they keep it in this bank. So let's say, for example, an oak tree that suddenly becomes extinct. Well, they'll have a seed to be able to grow another oak tree.
Yeah, there's a couple of those dotted around.
Yeah, and so there's not one for animals though. And so they're trying to build the database for animals. So he's just going to become an animal porn king, which sounds really wrong, but that's the way we'll call him.
Oh dear. Yeah, you want to be his agent when it comes to the movie rights, don't you?
So anyway, so moving back to Ellie, I don't know how we got off Ellie, but we've been supporting Ellie's awards. We always get dressed up as you get dressed up, but it's such an informal night, and it's just such a good night. Food's good.
What's your why for that? Why did Global Freight as a business decide to take Ellie and champion her with your support? Why did you do it?
First of all, local to us is important. Although we're a company that trade and ship things worldwide, local has always been and always will be important to us, and we always try and champion businesses that are local to us. And I think Ellie's is also partly because of her personality. She's a single human being running that award. Although she's got helpers and stuff like that, she's the center focus of that. I also think she's a small charity. And it fits nicely in with us as a small company or a small business. So we've always, we've always looked to try and support local charities, local things like that. And I think it's important that businesses, too much is made of bigger companies doing lots of money here, there, and everywhere, when actually it's the smaller charities and the smaller causes. Likewise with our work in schools here in Shropshire, in Telford in particular, we try and give something back to the community. You never know when someone of that community comes and works for you. We're all local people that work here. So for us, it's all about local. Although, global freight, we take things global. For us, local is important. I think that's one of the main reasons why we continue to support Ellie.
Yeah, no, totally agree with that. And that with some of the things that we've done, obviously we've supported Ellie. We've got we've just sponsored Albrighton's under sevens football.
Yep.
So we've just sponsored their kit for a couple of years. And
yeah,
as you say, this community that we live in, it's that old expression, you don't on your own doorstep. Actually, what you've got to do is support it and champion it.
Yeah.
Because these people come to work for you. Just out of curiosity, how much business do you do locally? Obviously, a global company in terms of.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't give you a percentage. It's quite strange because our industry, we're not unique when I say that we don't see any. Well, we don't see. It's probably easier for me to say we probably see about 3 or 4% or 5% of the freight that we actually ship. The rest of it is done from various locations.
Yeah.
So we do have a number of local businesses that we do business for, that we have done for a long time. And I think that's the other thing for us is it's also loyalty. I suppose it's one of the things I love about Shropshire is the fact that you and I have known each other for years and years and years and years and years. And I always remember you standing, doing your 1-minute pitch, doing that walk you're doing at the moment. You keep walking, and you usually, and it's your colourful socks.
Stripy today.
Yeah, I even put mine on today.
That's good.
So I think we're very mindful of our position in the marketplace. We can work with big companies, but 9 times out of 10, those big companies don't need our help, and they're just looking for a decent or competitive rate, which is fine. We can offer that, but we like starting to work with companies that are starting off their journey, or starting off working in international trade, and are able to, we can help them with cost, but more importantly, it's the helping of them to be able to get started on the journey. There's a lot of great businesses in Shropshire, a lot, and we always, a lot of them are missed because they're not members of the chamber, they're not members of the FSB, or they don't go to this networking or that networking. But there's still a lot of business out there that that can be tapped into, and I think it's quite strange because we recently imported some chocolate for a guy who we got through our agent in Thailand, and it's like, wow, it's didn't even realize he existed until that day, But again, there are some great businesses, and so for us, local is important. It always amazes me how people, they want to do charity work. So what they do is they sponsor big events, and they get their name splashed out, and 9 times out of 10, you don't get work from that. And it's also having worked in sports advertising and stuff like that. Whilst the Albrighton under sevens are very appreciative of it, the chances of you actually getting business, because you're not interacting, and people buy from interaction. I think that's the important thing. With Ellie, we didn't, although we didn't end up shipping Calderwood. We spoke to her about initially shipping her boat over. And we could have got some charges, we could have got some costs, but then it turns out the actual organizers do it already. And it's like, well, hang on a minute, they experience it doing that. So sometimes it's not even for us trying to generate business.
You mean she didn't row out to La Gomera to start with?
Really? No, she didn't. I'm just saying, or row the boat. They got the boat there. It's like, but yeah. So, and I think which will bring us onto one of the other topics that you were speaking about. But for me, free advice isn't lost business. Some people go, oh, I don't really want to give you advice, whereas we just want to give people advice so they know what they're talking about. Brexit's coming up, which is another topic of contention. Yeah. But see what I did there? That's good, isn't it?
We've got 40 minutes before we've said Brexit.
Yeah, we've got another 40 minutes to talk about Brexit. but no, we're in October is Information Month, as we're calling it, and it's just a case of saying to people, give us a ring. Let's have Zoom, let's Skype, let's do whatever platform you want to use. let's talk about Brexit and how you're going to be affected. And we're getting lots of phone calls from people who we've never even heard of, asking us questions that are, in actual fact, we're guiding them to ask their current suppliers. So we're almost helping their current suppliers to get ready for Brexit, because it's, I don't know about you, but I never want to be the one who says to someone, we can do something better. And the first thing that you do for them, you really mess up. And the guy goes, hang on a minute, you're cheaper and also, or you're more expensive and you've messed it up. No, not for me. I rather give the advice. And if they want to use us, that's great. I'm not a pushy window salesman. And,
you don't need to be though. That's the thing. It goes back to what you said, people by people. And
yes.
That free advice, it's that opportunity to say, actually, I've got a clue about what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You said yourself, some people know what they're doing, they just may want that better rate, but there are a lot of people that don't know what they're doing, and you have that open conversation, and they might go, okay, great, thanks, Anton, I'm going to go and do my own thing, or they might just turn around and say, oh my God, that is so much harder than I was expecting. Take it away from me, please. Do it for me.
No, we find that we've got people who work for us who I'm not going to call them pedantic, because pedantic is not the right word, but they're quite focused on, this is how we've done it, this is how we've always done it, and therefore this is how we've done it, and this is how we've done, because we've always done it like this, we're not going to change, this is how we do it. And that's great, because going from being part of the EU to moving away from the EU, Brexit, etc., you've got to do paperwork now that you wouldn't have done before, or if you're of a certain age you would have done but you can't maybe remember. And it's just those little jogs of memory saying, you need to put certain things onto commercial invoices, you need to have a packing list, you need to have an ERI number, you need to, and it's not, I'm sure it's like the millennium bug. A lot of people went, oh, this is not going to go away, we'll wait for it to go away. And then actually when the millennium bug didn't happen, they go, oh, she told me it wasn't going to happen anyway. So But Brexit's not going to be like that. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to Brexit or not, it's going to, on the 1st of January, we leave the EU. And if your business isn't ready, you're going to struggle with things like delays, etc. And, it's like the pandemic. Who knew in January? Well, who knew in December, when old Boris got voted in, that he'd become, the center of attention, where people just keep criticizing, which is another one of my grudge bears. It's the whole thing, the whole world's going mad and gone mad, Was it 3 months ago we were clapping? Oh, clap the NHS. Woo, let's clap the NHS. Now the NHS are obviously not doing a good job because we're not clapping anymore. But now we're criticizing it. And the truly British way is coming out now, isn't it? So what we do is we clap, whoop, whoop, we whoop and wallow, and then we start making friends, and we say, oh, this is great, everyone's in this together. And then as soon as we go out of lockdown, we start wanting to travel, and we start moaning because we can't go traveling. Hang on a minute, 2 weeks ago you were saying how your life's going to change. I don't get it, the whole, let's sit back and let's, what's the right word? How many people didn't you hear say, oh my God, this lockdown has taught me so much about myself. I'm so much more prepared to live locally, be local. Lockdown is ended. There goes the jet. They're off to Spain. Then they moan because they've got to self-isolate. Sorry, 2 weeks ago you were saying about how I'm going to sun myself in Bournemouth.
In fact, Bournemouth Beach, apparently that one hot weekend, they had 500,000 people descend on the beach. 500,000 people.
It wasn't even the weekend, Chris. It was wasn't it like a weekday where they had all these people come to the beach, and it's like, well, hang on a minute, what's happened to lockdown? We had the lockdown tent of doom in our back garden. So when we, because Mary and Norman, we used to just every Thursday used to wave at them across the close, our closest friends. And so when we were allowed to social distance 2 meters, we had to be in the garden. We put up the old tent of doom because this is England. It rains non-stop. So if you want a social distance,
it's raining right now, yeah.
Yeah. So we had this tent of socialization. We sat in there for like every Friday for a couple of hours, just having something to eat, having something to drink, and then eventually, we've now been able to sort of still social distance, etc., etc. We're in such a culture of during lockdown, we're all in this together. Yeah, we're all in this together. Boris is doing a great job. He survived COVID. Now it's like, yeah, he's rubbish. He's rubbish. He doesn't know what he's doing. So, well, how many of us have actually, even in business, how many of us have got to a point like COVID, a pandemic, where we actually know what we're doing? There were days that I sat at my desk thinking, oh, the phone's broken. What do I do next?
Yeah.
How do I do next? What do we do next year? You know, when you're looking at budgets and you're looking at targets, you go, well, how do you target for next year?
Yeah, you can't script this stuff. How do you plan for it? It's one of the boards that I sit on. We were talking about risk registers and putting global pandemic onto the risk register. And we're like, okay, we've obviously had this happen this year, but when you come to look at a risk register and you're looking at the likelihood of it happening again, how can you put anything into that?
But then you get all these do-gooders. You get all these moaners who now anything. If Boris told you to eat an orange on a Thursday because scientifically he's been told it's healthy for you to eat an orange, people would moan and go, I'm not eating an orange. You know, you got is it one of the Gallagher brothers that's shouting his mouth about, he doesn't believe in the pandemic. How can you not believe in the amount of people who have died? And please don't email me. Your other email addresses are available and say to me, oh yeah, but this is no different to the flu epidemic. No. This is included. This is extra on top of the flu. So we're going to have the flu epidemic, and unfortunately there may be deaths related to that. And we've got COVID. So it's not just, oh yeah, but if you compare, no, it's not comparing the two. They're
not comparable. They're different.
No, they're not. You know, and it's like myself and Nicole will always talk about, okay, are we going to get inoculated? Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, if there's an injection, I'll take it. Immunized, that's not inoculated, they're not animals. It's like to a cow. No, so I just think, unfortunately the pandemic has brought out the best of people, i.e. or Captain Tom, which is another thing. I mean, come on, man, the guy's got so much time to walk. I don't have that amount of time. No one tells me I'm going to get a 90 for cycling to work and back every day. Oh, and what was that song whilst we were ranting and raving? Why Michael Ball? Couldn't they get someone else happier? And that's the best of Britain. Then you get the worst of Britain, which is like the people not social distancing,
Yeah, how much
lockdown,
have you got stashed?
Hey, we shop at Costco. So by definition, we have enough toilet roll. So whilst we talk about stashing, right? Okay, so pandemic breaks out, toilet paper. What the hell? Toilet paper.
Yeah.
Why? Remember those good old days of lockdown. When I say remember the good old days, remember how everyone was working from home and actually the videos were fun on LinkedIn. You know, they were talking about positive things. They've learned to do this. They've learned to do that. They've taught the kids this. There was a lot of laughter and banter. Suddenly that lockdown lifts and we've all gone back to this depressing state of, this is wrong. Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
And do you know what I put it down to? The pressure was off people to earn money. And when I say that, because it's easy for people to go and sit at home on furlough at 80% of someone else's money. When I say someone else's money, but obviously you weren't working, but you were still earning 80%, which was a master stroke by the government. So we sat there, we got complacent, and we were like, this is great. You know what? I'm now living within my means. I'm not overspending. I'm not going to the pub. I'm not going to the restaurant. I'm having to entertain the kids, spend more time with the wife. Now they've gone back to got to earn money, because they've forgotten that actually I just lived on 80%, so I could live on a normal life. But now they
want to go out for dinner, they want to have the beers, they want the holidays, they want to do that all the bloody time.
I mean, this is coming from someone who did manage a 2-week holiday in South Africa before lockdown. I went over to South Africa to cycle, but we literally were sat on the coming back. We were sat on the plane when South Africa closed the borders. Okay. And it's like, yeah, I get it. I managed to get in and out. There was still business as well. I was due to go to Vietnam and Dubai this year for conferences.
Yeah.
But again, those are cancelled. I'm happy for them to be cancelled. And I have no intention, although I'm missing the family over in South Africa, and I feel a lot further away than I normally do from them because they are literally miles away, but there's no way of me even getting there. But it's one of those where I go and watch my son play football on a Sunday. We all social distance. They got to grips with there's going to be delay. We've got some customers who need their stuff delivered immediately and understand when there are delays. Then we've got other customers who tell you it can arrive on a slow boat, but why is it not here today? And I think we as people, or we as humans, need to get back to that caring, sharing side, which is strange coming from me, the South African, but but it is like
kindness and love and kindness.
But it's mad though. Why do we as human beings do that? Why can't we celebrate success? Like why must someone like Elon Musk, right, who's created, let's be honest about it, the biggest green tech thing in the world ever? Proudly South African, I want to say. He invented the Tesla car. Or he may not even invented the Tesla car, but we cane him for it. Someone like Bill Gates, he's one of the richest men in the world, but we cane him because there might be a conspiracy theory about him. Hang on, he created Microsoft Windows, and whether we like Microsoft, it's like Apple. We cane Apple, we cane Amazon, we cane all these big companies.
Yeah, but let's take somebody like Bill Gates, and he was one of the richest people. He is one of the richest people on the planet, and he gets all that attack and anger about Microsoft and Windows and stuff. But was it polio? His foundation, is it polio?
Malaria, isn't it?
Malaria.
Is he working for malaria as well? I think.
But he's near enough wiped it out.
Okay, it's not malaria, definitely not malaria, but it could be polio, I think, or something. But it's unfortunately we just and that's another reason why previously you asked me about why do we do local, because there's not the ability to knock local people. A lot of charities ask for, big charities will ask for money and they'll ask for this, and then you happen to see their accounts and you see the CEO earning loads and loads and loads of money. You think, well, hang on a minute, you're asking me for so much money per month because you need this amount of money to reach your goal, but your CEO is taking half of your money on a salary. That's ridiculous. And so when we support, we look into the the ethical ways of it. We look into, okay, is my £300 that I spend here better spent by that charity or that charity? If my £300 just gets dissipated and dissolved, you know what?
Whereas if you take
great,
like Ellie and you give her 300 quid,
you give her 300 quid, and you get a great night out. You get 2 tickets. This is what we pay. You get 2 tickets. You get this, and it's great. And so for us, we come back to the whole notion of local appreciate you more. And we get more out of it. And whilst we don't necessarily get any work from it, we get exposure, we get Ellie exposure. I think that's the other thing that we tend to use. We do a lot of work with Be Bold Media. And so we give Ellie the ability to have another platform as well. So it's not just, we're paying for sponsorship. We're actually saying, well, actually, you can use some of our resources to assist. And I think that's the important thing. Whereas, bigger charities, you've got to have this letterhead and this badge and this thing and that thing. Not about it. And Ellie, if you are listening, what prize are we getting this year?
So what? As soon as we're back on Ellie, what we've sponsored one of the tables. We've done the table sponsorship for the last few years, and we've just tried to make it fun. So the one year it was like, right, let's have the party for when the party finishes. We had little bottles of champagne. We had the
which table was that?
Obviously not the one you were on.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm wondering whether Ellie actually put that out. not that I want to, I don't want to cause a conspiracy theory. But it's just like, wow.
So we put like little half bottles of champagne. We did a bottle of water and paracetamol for the next morning to get rid of the hangover. But just to try and have that, give it that extra little bit. But I don't know.
It's so important. I mean, there's a lot of things around. If I think something like Who Farm, you never hear from them. You never, you don't see. They have a couple of times I've noticed in local publications and sort of local news where they've asked for donations and stuff like that, because obviously with them having been closed, etc. But Who Farm, anybody with a kid knows Who Farm. And the amount of times I spent there as a divorced parent, walking with the kids and go, oh, this is great because it's just by the zoo and it feels like I'm taking them on a day out. So there are a lot of local charities that I think need a lot of work. I'm not just looking to give money away. I'm not, we as a company, we don't have lots of money. I don't want to sound like, oh, we just got loads. We've got a big pot full. But when we do decide to support someone, I think it's important that people realize that if you just want someone who's going to give you money, we're the wrong people.
Yeah, it's got to be meaningful. It's got to make a difference, and as you say, fun. And for the last probably 3 or 4 years, one of our clients, they do special education needs for young adults, and they've got a school and they've got some sheltered accommodation, and they've just it opened over the summer actually, during lockdown. They opened a hydrotherapy pool, and they've been fundraising for this hydrotherapy pool for years. And so every year they have their annual ball, and for the last few years we've sponsored like the welcome drinks and stuff.
So I'm now a kilt wearer.
You wear a kilt?
Oh yeah, black tie dinners. Watch out! I'm gonna wear a kilt.
You do it properly, as in nothing underneath?
No, I wear a shirt.
I meant under the kilt,
mate. Okay.
You don't need to.
You need to remember that as an African, the loincloth is, anyway, it's the only way to go.
Yeah, obviously, I just noticed that the webcam is chopped off just below your shoulders, so I can't see the loincloth.
Speedo, sponsored by Speedo for my next swim.
That's wrong.
That
is so wrong. I think we need to use that point's probably a good wrap-up point, I think. So the new question we're asking for this season, looking at my notes, is what piece of technology do you want to send to Room 101?
Do you know, I had this conversation, right? I was thinking about it all weekend because, I do prepare. I don't just randomly talk. And the actual question was, which one can you do with, and which one can you do, or which one you want to put in Room 101? Yeah. And for me, my mobile phone, I want to chuck that in the bin. I know. You've got Steph Hansen, who's tech timeout. Now, do you know what? With all the will in the world, Steph, I'd like to be part of that campaign. I can't because I live in a 24-hour world where a Chinese agent shouting me at 3 o'clock in the morning. My tech timeout is when I go to bed. And the first thing I do, like most people, I pick it up and I check my emails. And what do I do before I go to bed? I put it down. I check my emails. I put it down. It's the world we live in. And you know what? But there are times that I wish I could just chuck it down because it drives me insane when you go to the toilet at 3 o'clock and you sort of in the morning and you sort of grab your phone because you're going to play a game. And we all do it. We all do that. Let's be honest about it, because we don't all go to the toilet at 3 o'clock in the morning for 1 second. I then check an email and you suddenly go, oh my God, I should have done something, or I meant to do something, and you don't get back to sleep again. And I know you should never touch your phone, etc., with all the best in the world. So for me, the one piece of tech that I couldn't do without is my mobile phone. And the one piece of tech that I could definitely do without is also my mobile phone. Do you remember the days when no mobile phones and you had to call, like as a salesperson, you had to like stop by a call box, but you didn't have change? It's like, oh, for goodness sake, what do I do now?
But that's a little bit before my time, but I do remember a life without having a mobile phone.
It was great.
Yeah.
Maybe a mobile phone that just is a phone rather than a mobile tech center. But now, I don't know about you, but I'm on Apple. I couldn't go away from Apple. I couldn't not have an iPhone. Camera, I've got about 12 million photos of random things, of great things, and so whilst I want to do without it.
So when was the last time you just sat down and put your phone down and left it alone?
Every night when we watch telly, we put the phone. We're not allowed to touch the phone. Not very often. I'll be honest. Not very often. We work in a world, 24 hours. Anywhere in the world, it's 12 o'clock in the daytime. So it doesn't matter what time it is here in the UK. Somewhere in the world. And so for us, there are many times that at 11 o'clock at night before I'm going to bed, I'm answering an email. Because if I wait, shipping from Peru to China, Peru to Africa, for example, well, there's different time zones right there. So I've got to speak to an African agent. I've got to speak to a Peruvian agent. But it's what I love about my job. And phones have been able to encourage us to do that. And don't get me wrong, here's a perfect example. Playing hide and seek with the kids. Okay. Ex-forces love a game of hide and seek me. It takes them a while to find me. What am I to do? Just sit there, like in the bushes, or sit on top of the shed roof, or sit inside the shed? Well, you got to do something. That's where the phone comes in, mate.
I think we need to come up with this as like a networking event or something, like business hide and seek.
Business hide and seek. That's it. But it's true though. It's true. My kids. Okay. So I once sat in a tree for 27 minutes. I know it was 27 minutes because I actually put the time on. And literally, if I had a tennis ball, I nearly said stone, but a tennis ball won't hurt my kids when I throw it at them. If I had a tennis ball and lobbed it out the tree, it would have hit my kids. She both walked under me a number of times. And I sat there, and eventually I started playing games. Then I answered an email. I even rung when they weren't close. I rung Nicole to ask if I could have a glass of water.
Can you bring a glass of water to the tree without kids?
No. I just said, "Oh, can you put a glass of water down?"
Thank you very, very much for coming on to do this today. So for the people listening, because they're going to want to know more about you, obviously they can come and find you on LinkedIn. Is that your preference?
No, my preference is anton.gunter@global-freight.co.uk, or even better, 01952 270 699, or my mobile 07581 221 834. Call me, let's talk. Let's Zoom. Yeah.
So Zoom or Teams, what's your preference?
I don't have Teams, so I only have Zoom. So if I'm going to invite someone, then I'll Zoom. But I've used Google, I've used Zoom, I've used Teams, I've used Skype. Remember Skype? Remember those days of Skype? Yeah. Let's initially chat either by email, get contact details. But I'm chatty kind of person.
Anton, thank you very, very much. And to everybody that's listening, thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and get engaged on Facebook and LinkedIn and all that fun stuff. And we'll see you for the next episode next week.